Hey, thanks for joining me today. You're listening to the Sit Down with Roman Gray. Our biggest limitations are the labels we accept for ourselves, the boxes we allow ourselves to be put into and then remain complacent in. Whenever I hear someone talk about limitations, I get really excited, but then immediately afterward become disheartened. I become disheartened because people throw it around like an everyday word. They say it as if they've accepted it, their limitations, and they have accepted it. Besides those with any actual physical or mental limitations, we don't really have any limits. They're just perceived lies we've been fed in order for us to conform so other people can understand us. That's really all it is. We give ourselves labels just like things we have in our homes. When we put labels on things and people, it makes it easier for us because then we can place it into a box. We use labels to try to categorize each other. I feel like it should be bothersome for a lot of people. It's bothersome for a lot of people when they can't seem to be able to place someone in, well, a box. But it's over time that we start to let these labels actually box us in. It feels like with more time, these boxes become chains, and then these chains finally become concrete bricks. The more we hold on to these notions of who we are or who we're supposed to be, they only become heavier and more restricting as we age. We start to really let ourselves believe in the words and ideas people have placed us in. If I had to paint a picture of just how silly these limitations are, it'd be like a 200-pound hunting dog that doesn't move because it's tied to a pool noodle leaning against the corner of a wall. It sounds really funny, and it is, but it's actually a really fitting analogy. How many times have you not done something because of some false idea or label you have in your head about yourself? Probably more times than you like to admit, or more than you'd be comfortable admitting. When I've talked to other people, it almost seems like they're scared to step out of this shell that was placed on them. This is all I can do. And it's like, well, no, that's definitely not all you can do. You're definitely way more capable. You just don't choose to. Deep down, it feels like we all have these nagging things that we ache to do or try to be, but we don't let ourselves because we've allowed ourselves to succumb to rules that were made up by some other person. It really is mind blowing when you realize that, again, to visit that famous quote from Steve Jobs, what you call life was made up by people no smarter than you. These rules, these boxes, these ceilings we try to always break free from or escape were just someone else's ideas for life. Some point along the way, we got it wrong and ended up following and believing in what we know today as American life or values. That's not to say there aren't great things in America. There is for sure. But the one thing that continues to prove wrong is these long held beliefs and values about our own individual potential. Since I'm normal, or for the most part at least, I think another big reason why people don't discuss this is the same reason why I didn't for a while. We're scared. We're scared of what we don't know. And because of that fear, we don't go asking questions. Once we actually do stop to think and reflect on it, then it'll leave us with some very uncomfortable answers. It did for me in the beginning. And what I've personally discovered along my journey so far is that you have to get comfortable in the discomfort. Life is so much better when you live with truth rather than parading around in lies. We live and die by what we think, feel, and believe. And nothing would hurt more than knowing that at the end of your life, you lived in a world of hurt and lies, and you are too scared to venture out and ask otherwise. Another quote from Steve Jobs to kind of really send this message home is, our time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. To continue, a lot of people will say, oh, you should just stick to this, stick to what you know, and you don't need to be doing all this other stuff. When the hell did that become a thing? You're telling me not to venture out and try new things? Stick to what I know? That's a recipe for a shitty life. Like, when did it become so cool not to try things? I have other goals, plans, ambitions, and I want to use all the platforms, and say, hey, I want to do this. I'm going to build this. I'm going to try that. But we let ourselves crumble underneath public opinion before anything has gotten anywhere. People don't stand up enough to protect their dreams and protect what they believe in. They get scared of these bigger and more popular voices. It's like this slogan of stop believing in yourself. Stop thinking you will achieve these things and be great. And I refuse to follow those rules. Our culture is set up in a way to control people with low self-esteem and who bleed ignorance. If we follow these rules, then it guarantees us a low quality of life. We also have this other thing that works like compound interest, except it's against us, and it's called self-hate. And it only worsens with all the commercials and ads that make us feel inadequate unless we go buy XYZ and do this, that, and so on. It's time we start promoting self-belief, just like how we promote new music we really like. Like, here's an idea, Spotify or Apple. Start a campaign or a movement about self-belief and knocking down limitations. How all of us are primarily slowed down by the thoughts and perceived limitations of other people. I mean, that's no doubt something I think people will gravitate towards because it's positive and real. We only get about 100 years here. That's plenty, but if we use it right, we live in 2020 now. We're visionaries out here. We're multifaceted. So let's start encouraging that and be bold. There's nothing wrong with wanting your name to be mentioned in the same breath with the likes of Walt Disney, Dr. Seuss, Elon Musk, Tupac. Our limitations are only as real as we let them be. And now, a piece I wrote. It's called When They Try to Suffocate Change. We're afraid of the light, but the world is overcast in shadows. We've been lied to. 'Cause in the darkness, there's freedom. In the darkness, there's discovery. In the light, it's their judgment. In the light, it's their world. All their beliefs and all their assumptions. So we must venture towards the darkness. For what lurks there is far greater than what we're allowed to see in the light. They'll paint us as monsters to their kids. Wrong for not following what they say. Devilish for being daring. They painted the idea of suffrage and fear in these shadows that surround us. And it makes sense. The shadows contain all their fears, for in their darkness lies our truth. And if we remain in their light, then we'll be defined by their history, their sick ideas. We'll be forced to fit into their skewed narratives, until all that's left of us are the failures of our possibilities, limp ideas of what could have been. And if you don't care, someday you will. For what they offer won't last. The comfort you feel now will grow stale. And you'll find yourself lurking about in the darkness for an inkling that you mattered, that you chose your life, that you are in fact a true individual. But you won't find anything, 'cause you'll look out toward their light and realize that you threw it all away, and anything that was left slipped through your fingers. You let them suffocate you, and then you do anything to keep yourself from feeling that void within, the void that runs deeper than the depths of a million lost lives. And guess what? Then you will have earned it.